Okay, guys. So basically, what we're doing here today is we want to continue to stay connected with all our pro prep athletes. DJ and I were very excited to launch our league in tough circumstances, and we're also very excited to be able to offer a service that was there was a big void with the high school, junior, university athletes, and also to adding the soccer academy, which we're very excited to continue to grow. And we have bigger plans to do things, bigger things as we go along here. But the ones that are involved now, we're very excited to have you part of everything. And part of the Zoom series is now just to kind of give you guys a run through of different things that we've noticed in our careers. Growing up as adolescents through 13 to 17 to 18, going on to junior university, becoming pros, young men and young women. We're trying to reach out to you guys as well too. But it's basically the stages of overcoming adversity and all the different struggles along the way. So, DJ, if you want to kind of say something, and we'll get rolling here right away.
Yeah, no, just to echo your same sentiment. I mean, we're super excited that we were able to obviously put something together here, both soccer and football related, during a pandemic. Not ideal circumstances, obviously, on how we kind of ended things off. But we definitely think that there's value in the speaker series, and we're looking forward to connecting on a weekly basis, and then obviously once it's safe to do so, getting back on a field soon enough.
Awesome. So I'll start off here. We're talking about overcoming adversity, and there's many different levels of adversity and things that you go through as a young athlete. I can kind of hark back to when I was 12, 13 years old, and I didn't start playing organized sports until a certain age, and I was always a multi-sport athlete. I played soccer, I played basketball, I played hockey, and football kind of came into my life later on. But football was one of those things where I had instant success in it, and the hockey side of things was kind of tougher for me. There was different barriers I had to kind of overcome, financial barriers, the barriers, and just being a new kid on the block, so to speak. But having sport as an outlet to go to every day to kind of kids now, or it was different when I was growing up and when DJ was growing up. There wasn't as much social media. Wasn't many distractions as there are now, but there were different kind of distractions. And the one thing that kind of kept me focused was playing sport and making sure that I was always doing something, and it was in a sport mindset. One of the things that I always had an issue with was, am I good enough? And when I talk about am I good enough, is was I good enough to play rec, or was I good enough to play on the premier team? Was I good enough to play double A or triple A? Was I good enough to make the varsity team in high school? And the one thing that kind of resonated with me was just focusing on just myself and playing the game. I didn't get caught up in the politics and worrying about what everyone else was doing. It was more of, how can I continue to be happy doing what I'm doing? And the biggest thing that made me happy was just playing the game and not worrying about what the coaches were saying, what the politics were saying, and just focusing on actually just playing the game and then just enjoying being a part of the game. And I think we kind of get lost in that sometimes, is we're worried about what people are going to think, they're going to say, and not just enjoying the game and being, going outside when it's cold outside and throwing the ball around, or when it's minus 40, going and picking the skates and puck up and going to the outdoor rink. And that was my favorite time, because no one was outside. It was freezing cold outside, and I would go outside, have the whole ice to myself, and I'd get to go practice out there when it was freezing cold out. Yeah, I'd have to go inside because I might get frostbite, but for me, that was the best opportunity because no one else was doing that. And I didn't realize that it was just for the love of the game, but it was because I just enjoyed the sport and the love of trying to get better every day. DJ, I'll pass it on to you for that early stage there.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, obviously it's a little different, but hockey was also my first passion. The first sport I played. Played a lot of soccer too growing up, and tried that. Wasn't very good at it. So all you soccer girls that are on here, you guys can school me in soccer any day of the week. But
Yeah, no.
no, but the biggest thing that I realized was it was really fast. I actually grew up as kind of like an overweight slightly obese kid, and I was always kind of gifted athletically, but obviously conditioning, stuff like that started to play a role kind of in junior high, and I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough to play on the AAA hockey team. I wasn't good enough to make the St. Paul's football team. And right away that kind of showed me, hey, like I can't just rest on the talent that quote unquote I've been given. So really I kind of looked in the mirror at that point in time and realized that I am not good enough. And now how can I continue to kind of put my best foot forward and control the controllables? Like Andrew said, there's so many distractions out there, especially now with social media. I mean, shoot, you go on Instagram, there's new stuff popping off all the time. And I think what Andrew's trying to get across and what we like to get across is the only thing that you need to look at is yourself. And if you are the best version of yourself day in and day out, you are going to get better, whether that's 1%, 5%, it doesn't matter. You're always putting that best foot forward. And for me, as soon as I realized that there's only certain things that I can control and that I'm going to be the hardest worker, put my head down, not worry about the noise, work in silence, and then you kind of let your success do the talking. And I learned that at a young age. I had a lot of mentors like Andrew that I could look up to and not feel like I'm doing this alone and not, trying to kind of trailblaze my own path. But I think definitely just having confidence in yourself, realizing that it's up to you and everything else to kind of take care of itself.
Yeah, that's great, DJ. And I think the biggest again message is control what you can control. And when you're in that early stage from 13 to 18 years old, you don't really understand the impact that you have on yourself. And a lot of things are depend on your parents and what your people around you are trying to get you into. But as young athletes, and you have the support of your parents or the people that are taking care of you, you can kind of have a say in that, and you have to start making those decisions now to put the work in, the extra work. And a lot of people talk about people do things when everyone's watching. It's about what you do when no one else is watching. When if you're in your room and you're juggling a soccer ball, you're in the garage, or when it's freezing outside because it's a little bit warmer in there, or if you're running routes, or watching game film on your own. And so those little things you do on your own that will give you that little edge every day. If you continue to do those things consistently, it'll kind of plateau you and bring you over the edge when you get onto the game field with the rest of your peers. So we're gonna kind of move forward now and go in like chronological order here to kind of describe our journeys. And for me in high school, I had a lot of distractions and did things. And DJ has a way different path than I do, and it's kind of cool for us to explain these different paths to you guys because they're so different. So out of high school, I didn't have the best grades, and I made the decision to go play junior football in BC. So going to BC was a big thing for me because I wanted to get away from Winnipeg. I wanted to get away from certain things and distractions that I had here, and I found a beautiful place in BC that embraced me and had a lot of great influences there. And at first, it was awesome, and there was their own set of distractions and things that came along with that. But being in a different environment and kind of finding myself again helped kind of mold who I was, and I became a different version of Andrew, and that was massive. I ended up having my beautiful daughter who plays soccer with some of the girls on the call right now at a young age, when I was 21 years old. And that's very young to be a young father. And that was a big pivoting point in my life where I had to realize, like, hey, I'm not only just responsible for myself now. I have a mouth to feed. I have someone else to provide for. And Hazel really saved my life and helped me kind of buckle down and so to speak, to kind of get to the next level. Where DJ's path, a little bit different. Go ahead, DJ.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, for myself, again, like going back to, am I good enough? And for me, I wasn't blessed with, with a massive house and parents that could just kind of throw money wherever. And I had two very hardworking parents, but they kind of made it known that, if you want to go away for school, it's going to be a student loan or it's going to be a scholarship. And obviously they pushed me and enticed me to work as hard as I could to earn a scholarship because they aren't given. But then there's also these academic, call it thresholds that you need to meet. And I think that's something that's often kind of forgot about in the process is we all love sports. I mean, everyone that's on this call, the 40 plus people, I mean, we love sports. And that's kind of what brings us all together. But there's so many other little intricacies and variables that go into how long can you play them. And you know, for all of us, our playing athletic window is this big in a lot of ways. And for me, the hardest part was the academic side of it, to be honest with you. I knew that I wanted to go to the university route. You know, was it going to be a D1 AA or a D2 school in the States, or stay up in Canada? What was it going to be? And there's so many different, you know, entrance requirements. What classes do you have to take in grade 11 and 12? You know, when are the deadlines? And to be honest, there was like a 3, 4, 5 month window there in end of grade 11, beginning of grade 12, where I was stressed out beyond belief. You know, I wasn't sure if I was going to make the cut to go to any school that I wanted to. You know, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to control my next step in terms of, am I actually going to be able to go play and study at the institution that I want to. And so for me, that was the biggest stress point. You know, at that point, you know, luckily I had done well enough on the football field to kind of get some attention. But now, like, what are you going to do to subsidize that in the classroom? And so for me, I ended up choosing to go to University of Western Ontario on a football scholarship and an academic scholarship. And then that kind of created a whole nother whirlwind, you know, living away from home for the first time. I'm used to a big Italian family and eating well at mom's and doing all that. And now you're trying to fend for yourself a little bit, and growing up really fast. You know, I was an 18-year-old. All those first years out in Ontario were 19. So that was another learning curve. And, you know, everyone would go to the bar on the weekends. And to be honest, I couldn't. I was 18. I was underage. So there was a little bit of social disconnect there as well in terms of, you know, some of that socialization factor. And it's not about, you know, can I fit in? It's just be you. You know, be unapologetically you. And I think regardless of what that journey looks like, regardless of where you go to school, make sure you kind of take care of your own in terms of your marks, your grades, your you know, kind of rapport with your friends, your peers. You know, how do coaches and teachers speak about you, the character that you have, and make sure that you have the academic side of things, you know, kind of taken care of, so that you do have that control, and you can go where you want to go when the time comes.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I think here is, you know, being again, comes back to being the best version of yourself, and putting that work ethic in. And there's going to be so many different hurdles that you guys will have to come across, whether it's picking the right school, you know, dealing with a coach that doesn't like the way you play, you know, politics within all that, having the right grades, you know, and just being a young, a teenager, a preteen, being a young adult. And I think the biggest thing here is just being true to yourself, and having a goal and a vision, and having a goal that you want to accomplish and achieve. And, you know, as you kind of become this person, even when you reach the pinnacle of what you think you want to reach, there's going to be adversity, and there's going to be things that come at you, objections. I mean, kind of transitioning to our next part of this is, we became junior players and CIS players. And for me, I went to a program where I had to switch positions. You know, DJ went to a school and then went to another school. You had to transfer out. So even when you think you're on the right path, there's going to be things that are going to happen, and you got to be able to adapt, improvise, and overcome. Nothing's going to go as planned, and you can't get down yourself on, oh my God, this coach said this, or this player said that, or this scout said this, or they wrote a bad article about me, or, you know, because that's going to happen. And the more that you worry about the uncontrollables, the more that you're going to be eaten up by those uncontrollables. Scrap. Every day you got to wake up. If you had a good practice at camp, or you had a bad practice at camp, no matter what it is, you had a good game, flush it. You got to move on to the next. How can I get better today? You had a good grade, you had a good test, you had a good exam, flush it. How can I get better? There's always some way or some form how you can get better and better yourself. And I mean, as we went through these junior university careers, and again, DJ and I are different eras too. We're a few years apart, and we have way different stories, but we can kind of come together and see the value in both sides. And I think that's the beautiful part about it, is that all of you guys have different stories, and you guys are going to go to different schools. You're going to, or not. You're going to play in different teams. You're going to play in different sports. Every single one of you have the passion and the drive to, one, be on this call right now, two, be a part of pro prep, playing on weekends or going to camps, or playing your sports with your respective clubs or high schools, and you have the drive and the will to want to get better. And that's where this all ties in, because we're just like you. We were just like you at some point in time. Um, so kind of going into the amateur side of things, after I overcame all my junior, going through fatherhood and switching positions, I finally realized that I was kind of good enough to play at the CFL level. We had a few guys that made it through the practice roster, and I remember asking one of the guys that was on the practice roster of the BC Lions when I was playing junior in BC, like, hey man, like, do you think I'm good enough to play there? He's like, absolutely, hands down. But you got to change this, or you got to get better in this. And as an athlete with an ego, you're like, oh man, like I'm good enough. I can do that. I can do this. But you really have to take criticism, you know, in a way. There's criticism that you're gonna have an attitude about. There's criticism that's gonna make you feel like, oh, like I can do anything. This guy's always talking about. And I'll talk about a different kind of criticism because both DJ and I have been told to switch positions. So I'm a running back, DJ's a linebacker. But out of recruiting, even in high school, they told me to go play receiver or DB or a defensive back. DJ, you were a linebacker. When you made the professional ranks, what did they try to change you to do?
Fullback.
Fullback.
Block for guys like that.
Yeah, to block for guys like me. So even then, we've overcame these things in our high school, junior, CIS, and now we're going to the pinnacle of where we're trying to reach. And now we're still kind of getting these objections of, oh, we got to switch positions. Okay. So I remember going to my first CFL training camp as a running back, and they're like, you know what, you're just too Canadian to play running back. You're not quite American enough to play running back. I'm like, okay, what the heck's going on here? Anyone who knows about football, there's a ratio, all that nonsense. So I went to my first CFL camp as a receiver. Yes, it was great. Helped me hone some skills. I came back after getting released after a week of my first camp. Played junior as a running back. Came back again. Oh, you're a receiver again. Got flipped back. Now you're a DB. So now I've been told three years in a row that I'm a different position. And until I kept going back and back and back and having these opportunities, which is a blessing in itself, that they finally kind of gave me the opportunity to play running back. And then 2011, got that opportunity and went on to go win a Grey Cup that year against our hometown Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Sorry if anyone's a big Bomber fan here, I'm salty about that. But it was an opportunity. I saw it, ran with it, and it took a while for me to kind of overcome that. And that was just a simple fact of being too Canadian. It had nothing to do with my talent level, had nothing to do with all the work I put in. It was about my passport. And that to me was the hardest thing because I could see what I was doing in practice. I could see what I was doing in the film room. I could see what I was doing in the gym. And that didn't matter. It was about a passport and something I could not control. What I could control was what I did in practice, how I showed in film, my work ethic, my homework. And after all that, it ended up paying off because they finally saw that, you know what, we've shunned this kid. We've told him that he's not good enough. He's not going to be this player. He's not going to be in that position. And he keeps coming back with a vengeance. And that's kind of where I kind of saw myself shoot up, and it was no looking back from there.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew's story is great. And I mean, I think, for a lot of respects, I mean, junior football in Canada, I mean, it's often overlooked and often underappreciated. And I mean, if you guys read up a little bit more on what junior football is, and for those young kids that are on the phone now that do play, I mean, it's a great opportunity. And I mean, Andrew's the kind of the poster child on the success on the football field and off of it that can come from playing in the junior ranks. So, scholarships are one thing, university opportunities are another. But I mean, again, if you're good enough, someone's going to find you. And then what you do with that opportunity once you get there, I mean, that's only up to you. So kudos to you on making that journey and kind of being a trailblazer in your own right. But I mean, for me, again, like it was a little different than that. I was lucky enough. I got invited down to go try out for the New York Giants my senior year in university. So, again, a little excited. Call it the ego was getting boosted a little bit by thinking I had a shot in the NFL. And then, 2 weeks later, I get drafted in the CFL. And this is kind of where my whole bet on yourself kind of attitude really kicked in was, going to Giants camp, being one of only 2 Canadian linebackers to get a look in the NFL that year. And, you come up in the CFL draft and you're hearing what all these reporters are saying, what all these teams are saying. Oh, you're going to be a second, third round pick, this, that, the other thing. You're trying to look at where you might land. You're looking at rosters, and I'm getting consumed by all this noise. And draft day comes, and I got my entire family, 40, plus people sitting in a living room, and kind of waiting for that moment to celebrate with everyone that's been there kind of along the journey. And we waited, and we waited some more, and we waited some more. And I became the last pick. So, instantly I'm Mr. Irrelevant. That's the football term when it comes to the draft status, when you're the last guy picked in the draft. And right away, it's kind of that chip on your shoulder becomes a boulder. And you're one of those people now where it's, you know what, people are still betting against you. So I'm going to bet on myself and kind of prove people wrong. And I walked into Edmonton's camp, again, like 2 days in. I'm a Canadian, white Canadian for that matter, guy. There's a couple of injuries, and all of a sudden I'm that next fullback that they want to groom to, again, block for guys like Andrew who are a little bit more talented. So right away as a rookie, I'm like, yeah, I want to make it. I want to play pro ball. I'll do whatever it takes to be a part of this team, and to kind of do what I have to do to stick around. And real quick, I kind of saw what the CFO was, kind of in a nutshell. And like Andrew said, and like I've said before, people are trying to tell you how good you are, where you fit. They're trying to confine kind of your role and your ceiling to something that they just see as this makes sense for me right now. And 6 weeks on the practice roster in Edmonton, and I sat there and I kind of had one of those kind of epiphany moments, sitting in my condo, and I said, man, like, is this really what I want to do? Like, do I really want to sit here, practice, football and kind of that be it, maybe play, maybe get the ball once in a while on offense, whatever it may be, and kind of just sacrifice in a position that I'm not happy playing. And one of the hardest things I've ever had to do was I walked up to Ed Hervey at the time, who was the general manager, and Jason Moss, the head coach. And I asked them if I could be released to go back to school. And as a kid who, thinks the CFL is the pinnacle of football, and that's where I've always wanted to get to. Now you're there, or in my mind, partially there. And all of a sudden I wasn't happy. I wasn't doing the things that I wanted to be doing on the football field. And again, maybe that's a little bit of ego playing into that decision. But for me, I knew that I could do more. And I was not satisfied with, kind of how it was going to shape up to be in Edmonton, and asked for my release. Went back home to the University of Manitoba, took actually 6 courses in 6 weeks just to be eligible, because I had already graduated at Christmas. So I hadn't taken courses in order to be eligible since January of that year. Did that, played linebacker again. And this time when I went back to school, for me, football was really just fun now. All that extra crap, worrying about my draft status, my draft year, the combines, who's looking, what scouts are at the games, everything else. I could just play football now. I was already drafted. Someone had my rights. Now I'm just playing for me, playing for my teammates, playing for the logo on the front. And it was the best and most exciting time that I've ever had playing the game of football. We didn't play as well as we wanted to as a team, but to come back and be able to kind of do what I wanted to do on the football field and kind of leave on a good note was kind of what I wanted to do for myself. And I ended up winning, Defensive Player of the Year for all of Canadian football, Canadian college football. And to me, that was kind of like the little token, that I could sit there for a moment and think, hey, you know what, like, I proved my own point. And then I get a phone call from Edmonton, like, oh yeah, like, we'll let you come back, but you can play linebacker. No, like, you proved your point. We'll do this thing again. And I go to Edmonton the second year, and I'm there right last day of cuts, and I get cut. And you're the odd man out, number game, this, that, the other thing. And now I'm cut, and I'm sitting at home on my couch watching, again, friends like Andrew, guys that we work out with all winter, play the game that we all love. And I'm sitting there out of a job, can't go back to school this time. And I'm like, man, like, I just won Player of the Year, and I can't even get a job, in the CFL. And, continue to work, put my head down, came home, just kind of went off the radar. And really just said, I'm going to give it one last kick of the can. And Montreal called, 2 weeks into kind of sitting there and being a free agent, and kind of never looked back, and went out to Montreal. And now kind of 4 years later, obviously back there. And, that's one part of it. And, for those of you that are on, right now, I also played for the Bombers for 10 games last year. And, that was, again, another kind of dream of mine, that I always wanted to come home and represent the W. and be a part of that, and obviously play with guys like Andrew and Nick Dembski and guys that I've grown up with, and kind of put on for a city that's given us so much. And again, same idea. You know, we had two American linebackers, similar to Andrew's story. I didn't fit the ratio card, you know, Canadian versus American, and I was the odd man out. And I could see the writing on the wall. And in this business, again, we have this amount of time to make the most of our opportunities. And as hard as it was in Edmonton to ask for my release, you know, I got emotional talking to Coach O'Shea and kind of telling him, you know, hey, I think I'm better off elsewhere, you know, for me as a professional athlete. And again, I'm lucky that Montreal signed, but you know, leaving the Bombers, leaving your home city, watching them obviously go and win a Grey Cup, and having a couple FaceTime from Andrew there with the Grey Cup celebration. I mean, it hurt a little bit, it stung a little bit, but at the same time, I mean, you got to bet on yourself. And you
It's
know,
it's your Grey Cup too, buddy.
yeah, 10 seconds, right? 10 games, 10 seconds. That's how much I get to hang out with it. But no, guys, it's there's so much more than what meets the eye. You know, no matter kind of who you're talking to or who's on this call, everyone's got their own story. Everyone's been bet against. And I truly, like, I ask you, like, look in the mirror and can you bet on yourself? Like, if you can't do that, why would anybody else believe in you? Why would anybody else take the chance to give you a scholarship, to give you, you know, a starting spot on a junior team? Why would they do that? You know, why, you know, girls soccer, like, why would they pick you on the premier team versus rec? You know, like, you have to have that confidence, and it has to be a subtle swagger to kind of prove your point and kind of hold yourself to that higher standard. And I think all of you guys are doing that first and foremost by being on a call like this and being part of, you know, kind of what we're doing here in a bigger picture. But kudos to you guys for kind of sticking in there. And I know it hasn't been easy even to this point for a lot of you. So again, mutual respect, you know, I think with everyone on the call here, and just know it doesn't get easier. But when you guys do get that success that you've been longing for, and that you've worked for, it does get sweeter as you kind of make your way through your journey here.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest point here is as we're getting to, you know, prep teams or AA teams or making varsity or making university team or junior team or whatever it is that you're trying to reach and achieve. Would you pick yourself for that team? Not based on talent, but work ethic. Because both DJ and I's stories, we weren't necessarily the most talented guys on the team or the talented guys in our position, but we had that relentless attitude, that bet on yourself attitude, that never give up attitude, that kind of set us apart from all the other guys that were on the same route as us. So no matter how talented you might think you are, or how talented you might be, would you pick yourself out of everyone else if you want to have the best team ever? You know, and like when you ask yourself that question and you look around and you see other people doing whatever it is, you need to check yourself and do more. And I think the biggest part of that is that, you know, it's so hard to get to the top. And once you get to the top, it's very, very easy to get humbled and get kicked right down. And I think the next part of what we're going to talk about here is once you reach the top of, you know, rushing titles, MVPs, you know, Canadian Junior Player of the Year, Player of the Weeks, the things that we've done, how easy an injury, some adverse bad situations, some being unlucky can really make you humble yourself and try to repivot and get back to doing what you're doing. So 2014, I came off back-to-back years of doing amazing things with the BC Lions. And I had an ankle injury in like week 12 that put me out of my season for the next. That took me out of the season for the rest of the season. And I came back the following year, and I didn't train the same way I used to because I was feeling comfortable. I was feeling, you know, I was in a space where I was like, you know what, I know what I'm doing now. And someone always told me, they said, never, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. As soon as you feel comfortable doing anything, you're going to lose. Someone's going to take you off. You always have to feel like you're pushing yourself to being uncomfortable. You might be the best juggler. You might be the best, have the best hands. You might run the best routes, but you need to challenge yourself, whatever it is, whoever the people on the call. Think of something that you do the best. All right. Everyone that's on this call right now, what do you think you do the best? Okay. And now think about what your weakest thing is. Now try to find that bottom part of whatever you think your weakness is to the top thing, and focus on all those things that your weaknesses are, and then really try to elevate the thing you do the best even more to the next plateau, and then work. Maybe that's 10% of your workout or your day. All right, now take that bottom stuff, and that should be 90% of what you're working on, because that's going to again change you from that 4 or 5% of the best athletes. Oh my gosh, this girl, this boy was this way this off season, and then they came back and they elevated their game to that next level. They took criticism, and again, we're not saying don't listen to your coaches, because we're saying we've overcome what people told us in a negative way. But listen to your coaches and take it in, and also apply that in a way that works for you. So ankle injury, came back that year, and I really thought that I had it kind of made. And I got humbled. I came back, I was overweight. I was 20, 15, or not 20, 15, 20 pounds overweight. We had a new coach that was from a college coach, and everything kind of just got thrown out of whack. And I really was humbled by my play, two, by how I was approached by my coaches. And it became one of those things where I was like, man, I've been working so hard for this, and I thought I was at the top, and I started making excuses for why this was happening. And I was wrong, 100% wrong, because I wasn't the one that was putting the work in, the extra work, because I thought that I was at the top, and I thought that I already had it made, but I wasn't working those little things, those little details to better myself. And I know DJ's had some complications and injuries that he's had to overcome, so I'll flip it over to him. But again, I would just focus on when you think you're doing something very well, there's always someone that's one better, that's at it. Someone's going to be doing something better at it than you can do it. There's always going to be someone that's looking to take you off. So you might be the top, maybe the middle. Well, no matter where you are, there's someone that's going to be working to try to knock you off, try to surpass you, and never be comfortable. Always be comfortable being uncomfortable.
100%. Yeah, well said. And I mean, the biggest thing, and I'll kind of leave that where that is, but I think the other part of this whole kind of situation, and when you look at injuries and you look at adversity, it's really how you overcome it, first of all. But I think it's the recognition and the understanding that we're all sitting here, we all think that we're invincible, and that oh, like, we can't be touched. Whether it's based on talent, based on being available for your teammates. I'm going to play next Friday, every Friday. No one can hurt me. It is what it is. But I think the biggest thing that I realized in my career, and I missed a full season, and I'll get into that complication in a second, but you don't know what you have until it's gone. And that can apply to anything in life. But again, I'm not that superstar in the football field. Sure, I start for a Canadian football team. Awesome. But I mean, I don't have the accolades and the kind of storied career that Andrew has, or a lot of other guys that young kids look up to. But for me, it's, I'm content with where I'm at, and I'm continuing to push forward on that front. But when that was taken away from me, whether I was the starting running back that, won a Grey Cup MVP and blew my ankle, or if I'm just this special teams player that blew a shoulder, when you're not there, one, it takes a mental toll on you. Two, it makes you kind of revisit everything in your life, the priorities that you've set, the way that you've put in the work. Have you done enough? Why is this happening to me? And you almost start feeling sorry for yourself for a brief moment. And for me, I realized that, I wasn't done with the game of football, and I now wasn't going to be forced out of it by virtue of an injury. And that kind of set the tone for my mindset, and coming back and working extremely hard, 3 sessions a day, therapy, working out, therapy again, for the better part of 8 months, just to be kind of deemed healthy. I completely blew my shoulder. I had 6 different screws put in, got it all stitched up. It was popping out without, any control. And that by itself, was going to take me out for 6 to 9 months. And 10 days into my rehab, I actually had like a mini cardiac arrest. So I lost my vision. I couldn't breathe. I actually fell down at my now fiance's parents' place, kind of like in the middle of the floor. Again, couldn't breathe, and it was scary. And it was one of those things where I had never experienced anything like that before. And it was like, hey, like call Dr. McDonald. Like, I have no idea what's going on. And like literally my fiance's family like dragged me out into a car, drove me to Pan Am Clinic, and kind of threw me on the bed. And I just remember like the doctors throwing like local like anesthesia freezing all over me just to try and calm me down. And they sent me off to the hospital. And I mean, I don't remember a heck of a lot after that, but being told, You know, they're throwing me into all these different scan rooms, x-rays, CTs, MRIs. They're trying to figure out what the hell's going on, because like I still can't breathe. And they finally do the CT scan. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here in a sling, not being able to move. And the results come back that I had a blood clot in my right lung. And you know, when you hear something like that, I mean, for all of you young people on the phone, or on this call, you know, a blood clot's one thing, but when it's in your lung, I mean, it's pretty serious. And you know, kind of the next step from that would be, you know, you're dead. And the doc comes in, and you know, it's just 10 hours later, and the doc says, you know what, 9 out of 10 people that have this situation, like I'm not even talking to them, like it's too late. And when I heard that, like my entire trajectory and appreciation for the game of football, one, changed, but kind of the whole scope that I look through life on completely changed. And I realized that, like, you know, as an athlete, we all are so caught up in the moment. You know, we're so caught up in being the best version of ourselves in that given moment to make the most of that opportunity. But there's so much more to life than just being an athlete. And I think we can all be more than one. And it's what you do kind of outside of the lines of your football field, or the hockey rink, or whatever it may be, that's really going to allow you to leave the legacy that you want to leave, and kind of make the impact on people around you and your community the way that you want to make it. And for me, I realized now, like, shit, I almost died. You know, part of my French, but it almost happened, and I'm thankful that it didn't. But that gives me a new appreciation. And now
Sorry
football,
to the young listeners there.
yeah,
I swear. And
yeah, just this the one.
yeah,
But no, I mean, in all reality, like you realize that, again, like sport is this big, you know, playing it professionally is this big, and for me, it's just a cherry on top. I can have fun every day I go to work playing football. I mean, that's fun for me now. You know, regardless of all the politics, everything else that you might deal with, some nicks, some bruises, whatever, that's all fun for me now, because I know that it's not promised, right? It's not just a given that you're going to be able to play tomorrow. And for me, that really was an eye, you know, opener, in terms of an experience and kind of fighting back to get back onto the football field. And for you guys, again, every single person, I mean, let's talk about COVID. Honestly, like every single person is going to deal with that adversity some way, shape, or form, and it's going to all impact everybody, you know, in a different way. And kind of Andrew and I, when we were putting the speaker series together, we wanted to challenge you guys, because like, honestly, we challenge like ourselves, and we have people that we look up to that challenges us to be the best version of ourselves, and not just be content and kind of feel sorry, and realize that the current environment, you know, is kind of going to set the tone on how you wake up every day, and how you chase your dreams, and how you continue to push forward. So I mean, Andrew and I, like, we are inspired by you guys, being around you guys for the last, you know, 6, 7, 8 weeks. It makes us feel young again, especially the old man on the other end here. I'm not, all those gray
yeah,
hairs
watch out,
starting
man.
to turn black. But no, nonetheless, guys, like you guys are a special generation that's up and coming, and you literally have the power and the future, you know, in the palm of your hand. And we hope that a couple things that we kind of talked on today sheds light that you guys aren't alone in terms of those tough times that you have to deal with. But when you guys all are able to kind of celebrate the success that you experience, soccer, football, life, school, it doesn't matter, you guarantee that the two of us are going to be alongside celebrating those successes, along with everybody else a part of the Pro Prep fam. And for us, you know, you guys are a special breed, and we're really, really looking forward to, you know, what your next step is individually, and how you guys can kind of form a community to ensure that, again, no one is alone, and we can kind of fight through anything together.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the biggest message here is that each and every single one of you guys on the call, and all the ones that aren't on the call, are gonna have different stories, different walks of life, and different sets of challenges. And again, the biggest thing is that you have a love for sport, no matter what sport it is, and to utilize the game or the games you love to help get you in front of more people, increase your network, and increase your character, and help you go through different sets of adversities and things you have to overcome. And I'm saying firsthand, sport has brought me and put me in front of some of the most amazing people I've ever met. It's put me in situations where I've had to really look deep down on myself, and ask myself who am I, when my back's against the wall. And it's brought out a certain type of confidence and compassion for things that I didn't really know that I had. So I mean, this is going to kind of parlay into our next Wednesday. We have Adrian Toogood, who is a sports psychologist. She worked with me hand in hand through the last year. Last year was a very tough year for myself, going through some different adversities. I'll kind of touch on those next week. We've been on the call now for almost 45 minutes, so we'll let you guys go here. But if you guys enjoyed this, I mean, next week's gonna be even better. We have a trained professional that knows how to talk. Me and DJ are just guys just telling our stories, and this is a woman who's helped Olympic athletes, professionals in every different sport you can think of, and she's a great woman just to talk to you. So she's a part of the Pro Prep team. Someone that's gonna have you guys will have access to, no matter what. If you're going through anything in your lives, one, talk to your parents if you can, to your friends if you want, talk to us. But Adrian Toogood is the best person to talk to, and 100% confidence and confidential. And she's, again, helped me and many others get through a lot of big things. So thank you guys for being a part of this, and I hope that there was one thing you could take away from this. If there's one thing at all, then it's a win. And if not,
on that same
please reach
note,
out to us more, and we can kind of shed some more light on some things. And we had to be kind of brief today, but our stories have been very inspiring to other people and inspiring to each other. The reason why me and DJ work together is because we inspire each other every day, and we spend so much time together that it's almost sickening sometimes. But I always call this guy in the morning. I said daily check-in with my buddy DJ, and it's great to have someone that's different age group, kind of different walks of life, but we become brothers, and that's the thing that sport does. So
right on. I appreciate it. And I'm actually going to take myself off this Instagram live now. And if you guys have any questions for Andrew or I, feel free to kind of hop on or send a request to Andrew here for a couple minutes, because the floor is yours. So I'm going to hop off. Thank you guys for paying attention and tuning in. And like Andrew and I said, we got something even more special next Wednesday with Dr. Toogood. Something that's obviously critical right now in Code Red, where a lot of us are looking at a lot of unknowns. So we hope to see you guys then. But anyways, I'll hop off and feel free to request to go live with Andrew.
So yeah, now DJ's gone. If you guys want to hop on or request live, I can hop you on here. If you're too shy to be on camera, that's cool. You can message us on the Pro Prep account. Is there anyone on our Zoom call here that wants to say anything? Bree, come on, you want to say something? Fran? No? Being shy? That's fine. I'll give it a couple more minutes here if anyone wants to say anything, but how you guys doing over there? How's Bryn doing?
Good.
Good? You're doing good? Great. How about you, Bree? You good? Yeah? How's school going? I can't hear you. There you go. How's school going? Going good? You getting straight A's?
I don't know.
You don't know?
We'll find out, eh?
Let's find out. Right on. All right. Well, hopefully we can get back to soccer pretty soon, eh? It's crazy right now. You guys missing the game? What are you guys doing extra right now? You guys doing anything extra in the basement, in the backyard? It's been nice all week. There's no excuses. Have you been practicing?
Yeah.
Yeah? What have you been doing? Uh-oh. Tooth comes out.
We have this hill in our backyard, and I've been like passing it up the hill.
Nice.
It's like a steep hill, so.
Right on. How about you, Bryn?
Me and my dad have been doing sprints, and then we've been practicing shooting.
Nice. I love to hear that. Love to hear that.
Can your dad teach me how to shoot too, or what? I'm not very good. I don't know if you saw that at the camp, but I'm not very good. I got some work to do.
Riley, you there? Sorry, if anyone that's wondering who I'm talking to our Zoomers over here. How you doing?
Good.
You good? How's school going?
Oh, all right.
It's going all right. Have you been practicing?
Yeah.
There you go.
We miss soccer.
Yeah, we do too. We do too. Right on. Well, if no one has any questions or things they want to ask, then I guess we'll end this here. Again, thanks for tuning in. We got Dr. Toogood next week. next Wednesday. She's amazing. So be sure to tune in for that. I'm looking forward to it. She's one of my favorite people in the world. So she's awesome. So tune in, guys. Thanks for listening to me and DJ ramble on, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday.
Thanks, girls.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Yeah, for sure. Take care, guys.